Hey, what's up, guys? Shifty here again. Today I'm going to be talking about Warcraft logs and how you can become a better player through the website Warcraft logs. So let me pull it up here. Pull it over here. So we got warcraftlogs.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do a Nighthold boss. I'm going to go to Chronic Anomaly. Sure. We'll go with this. So there's a few things I want to talk about with Warcraft logs and how I think that they can make you a better player. So, number one, you want to come onto Warcraft logs and you want to pick one boss. So I picked Chronic Anomaly in the new raid Nighthold. You can pick whatever boss you want. But your goal is to learn more about the fight, learn more about what is good on it, what is not good on it, and so forth. So I picked this fight, and one tip I have is to look at all the classes in the high end and think why. Think why did they parse so well? On this fight there actually seems to be a pretty good split of classes. So things that you could think about here are, is melee favored? Is range favored? Is AoE favored? Is single target favored? And one thing to keep in mind when doing this is to, just because maybe your class isn't on the list doesn't mean that you can't be on it. But you also have to be realistic, I mean, if you're nowhere on the front page, if your class is nowhere on the front page and maybe you're, like halfway through the second page, it's probably just not a very good fight for your class and your spec. But that doesn't mean you can't do well for yourself. So the second thing, which is exactly what I'm going to go into now, is your spec. So I personally play a Windwalker Monk, which only has 1 damage spec. So if I just go here to monks, all the Windwalkers are going to come up first because, a Brewmaster is not going to be beating a Windwalker, or at least, I hope not. So it's pretty easy for me, but let's assume you're a hunter for right now. So for all hunters, there seems to be actually all of the specs are on the front page. You got 2 marksmen here at the top. You got 3 Beastmaster, and so forth. I saw 1 survival hunter down here. 2. So those are things to keep in mind. And if you play 1 spec, I know some people that they just play arcane or they just play marksman, and they're not really willing to switch to other specs unless it's like an extreme difference of damage. But let's go to Windwalker Monk because I do play Windwalker. So what you want to do is you actually want to pick Windwalker because let me show you. So if you just click Monk, you'll come up with all these Windwalker parses. However, if you come over here to Monk and you come down to Windwalker, you'll get a little bit different information on this first page. What you'll get is this section over here. You'll get talents and trinkets, which is really important. Talent, trinkets, and legendaries. And this is important for comparing, what is possibly the best on a fight. It's hard to say, parsing there's so much that goes into parsing. It's hard to say, for sure what is 100% the best. Because if you look at these parses, everyone's running slightly different trinkets, slightly different legendaries. For the most part, everyone's running the same talents. DPS talents anyways. There's some survivability and movement talents that vary, but that doesn't really matter. But there's a few things that I want you to keep in mind about these top parses. Number one, their talents. So everyone on this top, let's say there's 19 actually, is running Whirling Dragon Punch, except for one person right here in the EU who's running Serenity. So it is safe to assume that Whirling Dragon Punch is the best on this fight. Again, according to your raid and your needs, you know, it could change, but it's safe to assume that Whirling Dragon Punch is the best. Legendaries, you'll see an interesting pattern here. That, you know, the top monks all have the two same legendaries, the two best in slots. The Drinking Horde and Cover and the Boots of Fist of Fury. You know, there's slight differences. You know, this person has the belt and the boots. This person has the bracers and the cloak. But you know, you'll see there's a pattern that people in the top are going to tend to have the best in slot legendaries. So actually, this fight is Mythic Chromatic Anomaly. Sorry. And we have, this is the Windwalker in my guild, Scarrow, and then here I am at 6. He has the two best in slot legendaries, and I have Pride Eyes and the Cloak. But as you can see, you know, I still did very well for having two not best in slot legendaries. So I want you to keep in mind talents, legendaries, and item level. I mean, pretty much everyone here at the top is right around 900 eye level. There's some differences. I was actually kind of low, I guess. I mean, 896. There's an 894 here, 95, 96. But everyone's pretty much around 900. And the last thing I want you to look at is the duration of the fight. You'll see that all of these fights pretty much lasted the same amount of time. There's some low 4s here, which are actually pretty quick. There's a lot of mid-5 parses, okay? So 5.5 minute fights. And let's use the extremes here, okay? Let's go back to Hellfire Citadel with Arcane Mages and the Legendary Ring. There were groups that took, you know, 15 Arcane Mages, I think it was a Prot Paladin, maybe like one Retro Druid, and they would just rush fights. They would just pop all their cooldowns right off the bat, and they'd have, you know, like a 15-20 second fight. And all of those mages, of course, are going to be here at the top of the ranks, you know. And so it's really hard if you're not in one of those groups to parse, because you have all these people that are basically cheesing the fight. And so you need to keep in account the duration of a fight. If a fight lasts 15-20 seconds, that means you have all of your cooldowns rolling the entire time. You have your pre-pot, you have Lust going the entire time. Very little mechanics are going out, so you're basically just sitting there turreting the boss. So the extreme, the opposite of that is, let's say, like a 10-minute fight. You know, you have a lot of burst phases, but you also have a lot of downtime where you have no cooldowns. A lot of mechanics are happening in 10 minutes that you have to avoid and do them correctly, so you're going to be losing damage. You know, your pre-pot's not going to be lasting the entire pull. You're only going to get one pot during the fight. So, you know, you want to keep into account the duration of a fight. Now, it's hard to say that, you know, right here, a 4:48 minute time is like the dream time, okay? I don't think that's safe to assume either. But you just want to look for extremes, okay? And I think this problem is not really that relevant now in this expansion, because there isn't a legendary ring that just kind of, you know, you just face roll fights. I haven't really seen parses where, you know, they're killing bosses in like a minute. Maybe there's like a few of them out there, but I think they're pretty easy to see that, you know, okay, well, you know, they're all on their mains and they're all in their 100% burst fight specs and talents and legendaries and whatever. But I don't think that's really a problem anymore. So this problem is a lot less relevant now in this expansion than last, but you still want to consider it, because, you know, a fight that lasts a little bit longer, maybe you get that one extra cooldown out, and so you get that little bit extra burst. You know, these things do matter, but let's move on from that. So next, we're just going to pick a parse, okay? You know, I'm just going to pick a random one. I see Zess, I think that's how you say the name. I see him parsing pretty high all the time. So, actually, let's go back. Let's assume that, you know, I haven't done this fight before, and that, you know, I mean, as you can see, I have done the fight before. I parsed 1 lower than him, and my guildie parsed 2 higher than him. So I do know this fight already, but let's just assume that I don't know this fight. I don't know the best time to use my cooldowns. I don't know the best time to, you know, use a potion and so forth. So let's look at Zess. There's a few things that I want to point out when looking at someone. I want you to look at their damage compared to the raid, because I think that is a little bit relevant. And like I already said, you want to take into account fight time, and you want to look at the breakdown of their own damage in comparison to AoE and single target. So let's hover over this guy really quick. So as you can see, Fist of Fury was his number 1 damage at 17.84% of his damage. And you know, it doesn't look like he was quote-unquote padding too much. He seems to have quite high single target damage. Now let's quickly compare. I don't want to take too long on this, but let's quickly compare. So he has 164 million damage to the boss. Now let's see what this guy has. So 165, 138, 162, 121, 176. So okay, so Fairjord right here, as you can see, has very, very low damage to adds, and he's completely boss damage. He's 95.95% damage to the boss, and he did 200 million. Now, if you look at the monk, he did 164, which is pretty good for considering how much damage he also did to adds. So he's not completely padding on adds. So that's important to know. Now let's look at his. Let's click on him specifically. And the best way I like to do this is you scroll up a little bit, you come to events right here. You're going to go to events, excuse me, and you're going to go to casts. Okay, so this is exactly what he cast. So 0.443 seconds into the fight, he used Tiger Palm. Now, you know, I don't want to get too crazy into this. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to freak anyone out. You know, let's just be general about this. I want to know when this guy used his cooldown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control F, and that's going to bring up this little search menu over here. That's the keybind it is for me on Google Chrome. I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone else, but I'm going to type in Storm Earth, and that's basically all I need to type in for now. So as you can see, 2 seconds into the fight, he used a charge of Storm, Earth, and Fire. Now let's go to the second one. Okay, so a minute 30 into the fight, he used another charge. 2:40 in, he used another charge. 3:32, he used another charge. 5:02, he used another charge, and that was it. So it's really easy to find when he's using his cooldowns. And I mean, I guess if you're new to your class, you can also see, you know, like what abilities he's hitting when he's popping his cooldown. So right as he hits Storm, Earth, and Fire, he's Rising Sun Kicking, Energizing Elixir, Strike of the Windlord, Fist of Fury, Whirling Dragon Punch, Rising Sun Kick. And then this is pretty much all filler right here until the next Fist of Fury. So you can also, so not only can you learn, you know, like the optimal time to use a cooldown, but you can also learn, you know, like the rotation of when you're using your cooldown, and this is all through warcraftlogs.com. Now I want to see when you use Touch of Death. It's another cooldown, so you know this is very expected. He used it right on the pull. 1 second and he used it. Let's see when he used the second one. So he used the second one 2:39 into the pull. Now this is a little bit interesting. Touch of Death has a 2-minute cooldown, but he held it for an extra 40 seconds. Now I can't conclude, you know, just based off this information why exactly he did that, but that is what he did. He held Touch of Death for 40 seconds. Now let's see the next one. The next one he used at 5:01. Again, he held it for about 20 seconds there. I'm not sure why, and I think that's the last one. So I only got those ones off. Let's see when you use Touch of Karma. So this is a damage